Preventing disclosures. More evidence surfaced that a fix or an extraordinary indifference was operating at the Obama FTC. In the first term of the Obama administration, besides maintaining the previous administration's 8-year virtual lockdown of the FTC regarding prosecution, the Obama FTC under Chairman Leibowitz took the extraordinary action of exempting MLMs from its own newly enacted Business Opportunity Rules, BOR, disclosure requirements. The action enabled MLM to solicit investment funds from millions of people without disclosing loss, failure, or risk levels. The bureaucratic processing of the Business Opportunity Rule dates to 1978, when a comprehensive disclosure rule was enacted to regulate franchising. The Franchise Disclosure Rule also covered other non-franchise business opportunities, but exempted opportunities whose initial costs were less than $500. The provision opened the door for MLM firms to evade the disclosure rule through the simple expedient of keeping the initial fee at $4.99 or less. After that enactment to ensure fair franchising solicitations, the brand new industry of multi-level marketing exploded into hundreds of enterprises that annually solicited money for home-based business opportunities from tens of millions of American households. MLMs offered distributorships, not franchises. Recruits could subsequently be charged thousands more than initial fees to obtain higher ranks, where greater rewards were promised, and even more fees could be extracted for training, sales leads, or motivation seminars. Beginning in 1995, the FTC began developing a rule that would include business opportunities. The Business Opportunity Rule moved through the bureaucracy at glacier speed and was finally presented for public comment in 2006. The language plainly showed the FTC staff's intention to extend disclosure requirements to the vast new field of MLM. The FTC explained that, quote, two important types of fraudulent or deceptive opportunities that would fall within the proposed rules coverage are work-at-home schemes and pyramid marketing schemes. Supporting the rule's intent to address pyramid marketing schemes, aka multi-level marketing, the FTC reported that in 2005, it had received 17,858 complaints related to these types of business opportunity solicitations, placing it among the leading categories of complaints. It also noted that many business opportunity scams escaped disclosure rules on franchising with startup charges just below $500, the franchise rule's trigger point. In response, the DSA orchestrated a letter writing and congressional lobbying campaign calling for the exemption of MLM from a proposed rule that was specifically aimed at MLM. After a closed meeting of DSA leaders with the FTC staff, the 2006 version of the proposed rule was revised to prevent MLM solicitations from being effectively included. The full FTC Commission signed off on the new rule, with MLM exempted in 2012. In ratifying the exemption, the Obama administration FTC commissioners directly contradicted the original statement of purpose for the rule, arguing that disclosures, which were considered critical for consumers to make sound investment decisions in franchising, were not needed or useful in MLM. In a 2014 article, quote, How Lobbying Dollars Prop Up Pyramid Schemes, The Verge's Matt Stroud provided a detailed report on how the pyramid lobby achieved this total reversal, exposing tens of millions of U.S. citizens to, quote, unlimited income propositions without recourse to needed facts or disclosures. Stroud described a, quote, decades-old political strategy by the multi-level marketing industry, giving, quote, handsome donations to dozens of members of Congress, who in turn, quote, pushed federal regulators away from prosecuting MLM. Importantly, he explained how it also resulted in federal regulations not defining the difference between what the FTC defined as a legal and illegal pyramid scheme. Stroud noted that when the business opportunity rule was proposed, Herbalife, one of the largest MLMs and with publicly traded stock, went on a political, quote, spending spree. Among the financial beneficiaries, he noted Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan and Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum. Democrats included New York Congressman Adolphus Towns, Elliot L. Engel, and Gary Ackerman. Through 2008, Herbalife spent more than $800,000. OpenSecrets.org, the website of the nonprofit Center for Responsive Politics, documented that Amway, the largest MLM political influence buyer, tripled its expenditures between 2006 and 2007. Over the next decade, Open Secrets reported that Amway spent about $400,000 each year on lobbying. This does not include the millions paid by family members of Amway's founders. Under intense political pressure from members of Congress, who were receiving millions in donations from MLM companies, the FTC engaged in puzzling and contradictory reasoning to justify its reversal of policy. When the business opportunity rule was officially adopted in December 2011, with MLM exempted, the FTC stated that it decided to narrow the scope of the rule to avoid, quote, sellers of MLM opportunities. This was exactly the opposite of the rule's original intent. It claimed that the exemption was supported by a majority of the, quote, approximately 17,000 comments that argued that the initial opportunity rule failed to differentiate between unlawful pyramid schemes and legitimate companies using an MLM model. This was an amazing claim. The FTC itself had never offered a usable way for consumers to make such a distinction. Its silence on clarifying how to recognize MLM pyramid frauds and its unfounded references to the existence of such a distinction to justify the MLM exemptions led New York Times op-ed columnist Joe Nocera to write, quote, the FTC's refusal to define a pyramid scheme and to act aggressively on that definition is a dereliction of duty. Nocera revealed the naked political muzzling of the FTC in reporting his interview with FTC officials. Quote, I have nothing for you, said Frank Dorman, a spokesman for the Federal Trade Commission. Lots of reporters have asked that question. Our final response is, we're not going to answer it. Nocera explained, what had I asked that was so sensitive that the FTC wouldn't respond? I had requested that the agency explain what distinguished an illegal pyramid scheme from a legal multi-level marketing company. For those willing to look directly at FTC actions and words, it became difficult to avoid the conclusion that the FTC refused to explain the distinction between MLM and a pyramid scheme because there is none, and the FTC knows it. Even more to the point of using the distinction for eviscerating the business opportunity rule, the rule was never intended to detect or prevent pyramid schemes in the first place. It was only to ensure that consumers would be able to do due diligence when being solicited to invest in a business opportunity, legal or otherwise. Exempting MLMs left the BOR with nothing to cover and no purpose. The response the FTC received from those arguing for MLM exemption, which the FTC used to justify its reversal, was sometimes as bogus as the reasoning used by the FTC. FTC officials knew the cookie-cutter letters were orchestrated by MLM lobbyists. All the letters were recorded on the FTC website as public comments on the proposed rule. Those it received from MLM officials and owners were even less credible than the harvested and mailed bulk from adherents. In the case of one DSA member company, Prepaid Legal, later renamed Legal Shield, the company argued that nearly 500,000 North American consumers, quote, depended on it for, quote, income. In fact, as the company's own SEC filings revealed, 80% of its salespeople never achieved even one sale, and only 2% made 10 sales. The mean average income of all salespeople was about $5 a week before costs. As part of the recorded comments sent to the FTC, Brett Chapman, general counsel of Herbalife, wrote, quote, within the United States, Herbalife has approximately 250,000 independent distributors, each of whom is a small business owner, and each of whom would be adversely affected by the new requirements contained in the proposed rule. In 2016, the FTC prosecuted Herbalife for illegal practices associated with a pyramid scheme after FTC field research showed that virtually no Herbalife, quote, small business owners earned a profit, and some suffered crushing losses. Other letters predicted the MLM business would be, quote, devastated, or that self-regulation or the DSA's ethics rules were adequate. In the end, the FTC staff accepted the MLM arguments and recommended that MLMs be exempted, and the full commission agreed to the exemption.